Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is my live stream. I'm joined by Scott Cirkland of Cirkworks, and we're hanging out and working on art. Just so you know, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is a live stream where I usually work on comic books and graphic novels like Two Stories and Jacob's Apartment. My two graphic novels that are out. I'll probably play trailers for those as the day goes on. But I guess I should do a short pitch anyway. So Two Stories is my graphic novel that tries to destigmatize hard conversations about mental illness. It's very confessional, autobiographical, indie underground comic in the vein of like Raw and, think comics like Blankets and things like that. It tells a story of me learning how to navigate depression, caregive for somebody with panic disorder, and also has stories of learning and navigating hypocrisy in a Christian school as a young kid. But it's also lighthearted, as I think Scott could attest to. It's not all doom and gloom. It's got some fun stories, like when I used to cosplay as Indiana Jones for an entire year at school, which is a true story, before cosplay existed, and I asked people to call me Indy. So that's Two Stories. And then Jacob's Apartment is a slice of life coming of age story about two roommates, Jacob and Sarah. Jacob has started questioning his belief system because of his father being diagnosed with cancer. And Sarah is going through a similar questioning of her identity because of a broken relationship. Both of them are seeking to find themselves and having really strange dreams at the same time. And as they find themselves drawn to each other, they start falling for each other romantically. Their dreams and reality start interweaving in what I call, if you took Ghost World and Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind and put them in a blender, that's Jacob's Apartment. Both are available at bookstores everywhere. I guess before we go into it, Scott, you want to do any pitches real quick before we kind of get into hanging out? And by the way, full transparency, I am cutting these out for my son Benjamin. That's my art project right now. Okay.
Sweet. Yeah, well, since we're talking about comics, I'll talk about my comic. It's Young and the Dead. It is a kids versus zombie adventure story. It's like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So if you're a fan of all the 80s action movies starring kids as the heroes, like Goonies, Monster Squad, Explorer, E.T., all that kind of stuff, then you'll probably dig mine. Just take that kind of, imagine that, but with zombies. So that's what you get with Young and the Dead. So, and you can find that on my website.
Immaculately drawn arcades as well, I should note.
Yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia and stuff that calls back to the 1980s. So
nice. So are you still working on your commercial comic right now?
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I've got quite a bit to do still. So.
Quite a bit to go. Yeah, it's funny. So in the background, my wife is working on kids' books that she's on a tight deadline for, and I'm working on this book, which it feels like not a tight deadline, but it is because it's just the sheer quantity of pages. And me being a relatively slow artist. So anyhow, but right now I'm on a deadline cutting out cardboard for my son. So I'm kind of curious your take on this, Scott. I've been thinking about collections of thoughts lately.
Collections of thoughts.
Yeah, so like basically like just the idea that, quite often the way our memory works, we're sort of composed of these complicated ideas that when broken down are just little data points. And I've thought about it like when it comes to art, where to acquire a skill in art, quite often you kind of look at it, have to deconstruct it, and then like kind of reverse engineer it. Does that make sense?
I hope that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. As far as, I guess you might have to expand a little bit on that as far as what.
So like, for instance, if somebody's looking at, comics and they haven't done comics, but they love comics, right?
Right.
The prospect of doing a comic, like when you're just starting, can be like really intimidating and intense. But then like what can make it less intimidating is like if you went to like your YouTube channel and looked at all your Comics 101 classes that kind of break it down from like the complicated idea to simple steps to actually make it happen. It becomes more accessible. Because the way, like, I think the way our minds work is we kind of take little data points, kind of like each one of your YouTube videos or whatever, and we don't remember necessarily each YouTube video once we've kind of acquired a knowledge or a skill, but each of those little data points that you're covering combined to kind of make like the cartoon memory or whatever in our brain, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's interesting because I watch and listen to or whatever a lot of YouTube while I'm working.
Yeah.
And you always wonder how much of that is seeping in, like how much of that are you going to actually call back and like, oh, I remember this, or is it, or because there's just so much information you're taking in at once.
Yeah.
Or maybe I have to hear that same information a number of times. At least the way I kind of learn, a lot of times it has to be repeated. So
yeah,
I could watch a video and I think I may take in about maybe say 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's all there. It needs to be called back or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, for me, my memory is weird with that too, because we got Gary Hodges joining us. Mr. Hodges, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Much better having read your latest D versus M. Yeah.
Now we don't just have to talk about Gary; we can talk with Gary. So.
That's true.
Oh my God! I didn't look at what I was.
Have you not been listening to the streams and us just?
We've been like singing your praises as if we're like a stranger.
Yeah. No, I just sat down with a glass of water and was able to jump on. So.
Nice. How are you doing, and what are you working on right now, Gary?
I was going to bag and board more comics.
Nice.
It's not something I love, but I suppose if the mentality's right, it becomes vaguely meditative, where you're just doing the stupid repetitive task over and over. And I have many to do before the con, so.
I'm cutting out cardboard for my son, so I feel like this is a very meaningful task right now. I was about to get started, and he has these shapes that he wants me to cut out. They're very important for something.
Yeah. What he's building?
Yeah, he's working on something. He's always working on something. Quite often with cardboard or Legos, or quite often it's like recreating a video game, and it's like little components that he wants for like power-ups and stuff.
I was the same way with the cardboard and construction paper and stuff. I was with glue and a stapler and tape, like making.
You can say hi, Ben.
Hi.
Hi.
He's like hi. You don't have
to. Is he the same with Play-Doh?
He was when he was a bit younger, but he's not like super into Play-Doh anymore. Yeah. For him, it's like it's all parts that you can assemble. That's really interesting for him.
Yeah, Legos for sure. And I remember Scott, we're closer in age. You might remember these commercials. I think it was just called Robotics.
Oh, I had Robotics. I loved them. I used to.
Yes, and they were these kits. It was sort of like elevated Legos with screws and screwdrivers and things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And it came with little motors.
And a little action figure spaceman that you could put in the cockpit. I used to take those, and it didn't work very well, but I had this playroom, and I used to like to try to turn it into like a Chuck E. Cheese arcade. So I tried to make my own animatronics. So
that was like a week ago, though, guys. That was a week ago.
I put my puppets over the things and tried to control them and made them sing, move around and stuff.
I saw Westworld on Saturday morning theater, which you'll remember, like in the Phoenix area, like Saturday mornings they play all these bad old movies. I saw the original Westworld with Yul Brynner.
But by the way, Michael Crichton book, a lot of people don't know that.
And actually, I still love it. I think it stands up. I watched it a few years ago, and I think it's great. But I watched that, and I loved the idea of like a human robot with a human looking outside. So immediately what I did is I took my robotics and tried to make like a Godzilla kind of thing, and covered it in cotton and wound tape over it. So you had this sort of ruined the pieces because now you're covering it in tape and everything.
Yeah.
But I wanted this kind of like
you're like trying to like almost like paper mache it or something, like to have like an exoskeleton around it.
Yes, that was the goal. It didn't turn out nearly as cool as it was in my head. But that's a good introduction to the art world. But
I like that. I also I'm surprised that it wasn't like building a giant Boy Scout that you could then annihilate.
Right.
Jim and I were
tried to
talking
do
about
that
that
with
on stream
clay.
on that last one.
I'm worried I might have really traumatized Jim with as often as he brings up the scouts from
It's true.
97. I have to be honest, I haven't thought about the scouts probably since
Yeah.
I finished 97, but
Ladies and gentlemen, exclusive. Gary Hodges annihilates Boy Scouts and barely thinks about it.
doesn't even remember it. For me, it was
Can't even
Tuesday.
remember.
Yeah.
Insignificance. Yeah, that's just an
That's right.
average Tuesday.
Yes, right.
You're like Wednesday. We got to move on to Cub Scouts. You know,
Right.
There's other troops to kind of concern yourself with.
That's right.
But it is funny that I do wonder if that kind of stuck in Jim's subconscious somewhere. Like he felt really connected to those characters. He's like, how dare you? How dare you, sir?
I do. There's as has been talked about with the parental warning, there's a little bit of animal harm in this one. And I know there's some people, without getting into the specifics of it, that it might be a little triggering, it might be a little upsetting, but I tried not to be too horrible about it.
Yeah,
That's kind of fun, though.
Without giving too much spoilers away, we went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh, we still haven't seen that.
Oh,
And Jen almost had to walk out. She did not enjoy it because there's a lot of, it goes into Rocket's origin, and there's a lot of that. And the previous night, the previous night we were up with my dog who was having a seizure, so we were just kind of still reeling from that, and then seeing all that kind of sort of animal cruelty in that, and
yeah,
she got a little triggered by that. So.
No, I honestly. And I will eventually see it because I've heard it's great, and I do want to see it. But it's probably the only thing I know just enough about some of the weird animal experimentation stuff where it's like I feel like I need to be in the right mindset before I go and check that out. Like it sounds heavy. It sounds kind of sad.
Yeah, that does sound rough. And like it's weird, but it's like. There's like parts of me that have softened over the years. But one of the things I will say about regarding animal cruelty in stories is I remember the first time I saw Akira.
Yes.
The fact that like it was the first time I had seen like a shootout sequence where there's an animal and the animal just gets mowed in the scenario.
Right.
And it was it was shocking, but it was also kind of like one of those moments of like, why doesn't that happen? Like in all these cowboy movies, like the horse never gets shot. Like it's just, and it was one of the first times where I'd seen that where like the police dogs get into the line of fire and it's just, they're gone, and, and it was very impactful and kind of shows the power of the situation as opposed to like, if they had just run through it, it kind of suddenly mitigates the threat, No,
I agree. And that's why, like at least in the case of 79, where it's like, well, this is the logical next step. Like I've involved, like, and this isn't much a spoiler. And I think it's even you get a glimpse of it in the trailer. Like the soldiers have canine units. So they're there's combat, like stuff is going to go sideways. And like, it's not like the dogs are somehow going to be exempted from that. So I think if you're being honest with it, it's like, well, I can't do what you're doing, like the Western where someone gets shot and the horse rides away. It's like, that's not honest. I don't think
that's not the world you're kind of working in. Like that could work for a different story, but it's like, you're aiming for more kind of realism.
Right.
Yeah. I was kind of curious about some stuff with it. I mean, we've talked about this a bit, but do you feel like your job, like your day job, has informed you, especially in cases of like, I think Scott and I were talking about just how it, like when there's violent sequences in this, they're like abnormally very real.
Right.
And I was kind of curious if
I appreciate you saying that, by the way, because I try to make them have a feel of, I don't know if I'm using this word right, but verisimilitude. Like I want it because I think there's a qualitative difference, and even if you haven't seen the real thing, you know it when you see it. And there's some, and I think that's maybe worth chasing since everyone else is going in like the kind of crazy Mortal Kombat, The Boys, you know, like Invincible direction where it's like so over the top. You know, it's so crazy. And it's like, I think if you actually try to show more what it looks like, there's something more shocking about that because you're not normally seeing it.
Yeah.
But yes, no, my work definitely. Not only in terms of like visuals, choice, like deciding how to show things and what I think that would look like, but, you know, the themes, a lot of the ideas, you know, I think like most of the people well, not most, but like when you're talking about Ruben or you're talking about Dr. Wagner.
Yeah.
It's people who are very conflicted about their jobs. You know, like that they have these kind of strange jobs where they're trying to do the right thing and they're trying to make the best of kind of a weird, morally ambiguous situation. Yeah. And I feel like on some level I can write that. I can relate to that. You know, I feel like there's, of course, you know, like any job, I think sometimes, boy, I hope not too many people from work are watching, but I think, you know, sometimes your work does things that you don't agree with. Yeah. And I think the difference is like if you work at Burger King, maybe you don't agree with how they're pricing the Whoppers or the food coloring they're doing to make a red bun. At my job, maybe they're executing something, you know, and it's like that's, you know, and I think a lot of that I can't help but consciously or subconsciously write that into the work. So.
Yeah, and I thought, like, you know, and this, I don't think this is trashing anybody's workplace because I think this is just the nature of workplaces, but I think that it did have like a real semblance of the whole kind of establishing sort of political stuff that's happening at work. Yeah, it felt so true to life, like of any sort of high stakes situation at work, and also you really captured her as like like a really good picture of like an ambitious, like driven person who's not going to let, you know, protocols get in the way, which quite often in like most workplaces can get eaten alive, you know, like, and it's, but you set it up in such a just compelling and believable way because you are kind of like, you know, it doesn't feel out of line for it kind of seats you in the reality of the situation, which I like. It reminds me of Andor a bit. Like Andor does that a lot where they'll take this kind of crazy premise, but again, like they relate it enough to like the reality of politics or interweaving like people dynamics where you can see how somebody intending good could do evil or, you know, like, and it's like those in-depth things that really ground it and make it relatable. And I think you pulled that off really well.
Well, thank you. Now, this is something you'll have to forgive me because this is something I might repeat at Artcasters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we don't want to over. Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine.
But I had a couple questions, but I'm zipping my lip because they're
Well, but on that note, I will say this, and like I said, I might repeat this because I think it's kind of I don't. I've talked about this on my stream. I don't talk a lot about what does D versus M mean, and I'm not interested in giving people the metaphorical or literal decoder ring, like, you know, this is how you should read it. Yeah. But I will say this.
And if you are going to sell like, that's something you want to sell. Like, if you're going to give a decoder ring, you know, we need like a radio program.
Yes. If you want to buy the alien language decoder, there's going to be a price on it.
But, and you're going to have to drink a lot of Ovaltine and like save up your points, you know.
You got to get the ring. But I will say this. I think, and this applies to all the D versus M's, including the latest one. Yeah. I think that like one very broad idea in it is this, that even if you're talking about something as crazy as a top secret war involving aliens, and you're trying to reanimate dinosaurs, and like there's Men in Black, and there's ray guns, and there's alien war machines, and all this stuff. Ultimately, where the rubber meets the road, it's going to be on our side a very human endeavor. That's I think where there's interesting story possibilities, and it shows that we will bring, as humans, all our worst aspects to it. And like maybe in this one, an example would be like how we treat animals. you know. But then like also all our best stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it'd be like, and without getting into spoilers, like how animals can kind of bring out the best aspects of yourself. And I think every D versus M, there's some teaspoon of, no matter how ridiculous the situation, it's always going to boil down to people and their bullshit. And also their like heroic and wonderful and kind of beautiful qualities. And that's why I wanted Office Politics. I wanted the first glimpse of their real humanity being through the lens of her relationship with an animal. But I also wanted to see like how people can actually be kind of very misguided and pieces of shit and, you know, like all of that.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to try and get all those ideas in there.
I love that. I don't know how much to dig into that before our casters, because I'm like, there's some interesting stuff in the positioning of that, where it starts with her workplace personality and kind of moves from there.
Yes,
I think that speaks volumes about the character and their priorities too.
Yes,
and so we'll have to touch on that more on art casters. But
we will. Like, and I think I
did like that.
Scott, I appreciate that. I told Scott last time, I'm fine if we want to do like a little bit of spoiler conversation or whatever on Artcasters, you know, to like, as long as we label it, you know, for people who want to avoid that. I would enjoy that. And then we could kind of get into it if you wanted, but.
Good, because there's a certain animal as an Easter egg at the end that I definitely want to talk about.
An animal is an Easter egg in the end?
Yeah, it's in an article. I want to talk about that. Because that literally was one of the funniest little Easter eggs that I've seen.
Yes. No, I felt, well, yeah, that's, and I love doing those fake articles, but,
I think that like that's one thing. I know I always mention Chris Ware, but that's one thing I love about Chris Ware. I know Scott's done these too, but like those advertisements, to me, that's always been appealing to do. Fake ads, fake graphic design. It's almost like a subversion of graphic design too to do, because you're like,
it is in a way. It feels like, why is that? Why does it has that appeal? Like, for example, in the back, this doesn't spoil anything. You see a character's ID badge.
Yeah.
You see a few times during the comic, you see the character wearing it, you see them using it, and then at one point it gets taken off them accidentally. And then you see like, and I tried to make it look like an actual scan of the real physical, and not drawn like a comic, like this is the real physical artifact. And there was something about that was so enjoyable. To make that thing, to make like this is the real life object you're seeing drawn in the comic. And I can't, it was the subversiveness. I think it's like, oh, I'm kind of doing counterfeit money. This is fun, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that like, we're, you know, especially for us, like in what we do in our day jobs, right? You know, most commercial artists, you're doing art as a utility, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, a lot of the time you're doing it to fill a specific utilitarian function. So there's something fun about doing something that actually serves no utilitarian function, but pretending it serves a function it doesn't.
Yes.
I think there's something about that, because that feels very like artistic in the process. Yeah. So even if it's like a parody of, you know, an existing template, it's the fact that you're making an ad for a product that doesn't exist. So it's doing advertising work, but for nothing in a weird way, just in service to like a story.
And
or like you were saying, like an ID card that doesn't scan, like it's not a real thing, you know, but you're putting the effort and design into it.
It's not, if you're doing, like I think I've talked to Scott about this a bunch of times, because we both have that book, the comic book ad book, like the comic book order book.
Which I keep mentioning, you know, Insight Editions, their best book is easily Barbarians, A Handbook for Aspiring Savages, which came out I think spring after the mail order mysteries. I would just say that's
I totally check it out. But what I've always, and maybe for the trade, I don't know if it would really fit, but I've thought about it for a trade. I would love to do a page of fake ads. It like would just be fake, like that you'd see in a comic book of like selling like nonsense stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the appeal for me is it wouldn't be, unlike doing real ads, it wouldn't be spoiled by this kind of marketing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's a little part of you, anytime you've had to do that, I've had to do that, where you're like, ugh, I'm just selling things. Like, I'm selling dry cleaning to people. Ugh, I feel like like it has this ick factor of like, I don't care about this. I don't believe in this. I'm just taking a paycheck to draw a thing. Yeah. And like, if you were doing fake ads, you could enjoy the task of like, make it look real, but have fun with it. Yeah. And you're not actually selling anything. Like, you're not, it's all fun. It's all it's almost an exercise.
Yeah, the thing that the best use of that I've ever seen in a narrative was everybody should own this book too. If you don't own Jimmy Corrigan, the Smartest Kid on Earth, like go buy it. Like, you will not regret it. Even if you don't get it, just as a piece of artwork, I don't think you'd regret it. But like, there's a point in that story where the narrative, Jimmy Corrigan is like it just kind of cuts in between this sequence. Where suddenly it looks like a page ad, but when you read the text of the page in the advertisement, it's a continuation of the story, and like all the instructions in it become part of the narrative. So it's not actually an ad. It's like the next page of the story, and it flows sequentially and has like this subconscious like statement about the main character in it. And so it's like these interspersed ads become part of the narrative. It's really kind of genius the way that's done. I think, that's just like a whole other level to it. But speaking of other levels, I saw a lot of use of that, and I'm sure we're going to go over that on the stream. But I saw you using a lot of things that only comics can do in your comic, which is kind of
tried. I know, like, I had one example I think I showed you in the chat a long time ago, because we had talked about it. When you have like side-by-side panels, the background is all static and fixed, but you're watching maybe a subject move through a scene, and like that's what's changing panel to panel. I did that twice, which was sort of fun in the book. And there's some kind of creative use of blank pages, and one that I'm revisiting from 75. There's a lot of playfulness with page numbers. Yep. There's a few things where something I was talking about in my last stream. It's like we're trying to like have fun with the medium, and trying to like wink a little bit, here, not in a way that's going to take people out of it, but in little ways, just to
Frank said, hello, Artcaster's friends. Nice. How's it going, Frank?
Oh, here I see Gary is glowing with the confidence of a powerful and subject creator. That is absurd. And then I like Hodge's early stuff before the public discovered him and he became so mainstream. Yeah,
that's true.
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like it was a little over the top, Gary, when you just started saying, thank you so much, and nobody had said anything about your book. You're like, I know it's great. I know. Yeah. And we hadn't even mentioned it. That was a little much.
Well, and like, look, I know I threw in that long segment with the girl on the beach in her bikini, but like, you give the people what they want. That's what I always say. When it comes to
the Levi's ad was a bit much. That's all I'm saying. It was a bit.
The Coca-Cola billboard was a little weird. But
do you guys have seen the Rob Liefeld, the infamous ad for jeans? I can't remember the company.
I don't know if
there was a point in time where the image guys, it was Levi's,
It's 501.
Yeah, Levi's 501. But yeah, there was a point in time where like image was so big that Levi's was like, we need to have one of these guys on a Levi's ad. And it's him like drawing and being like, when I'm working on Youngblood, like
what?
It's
real?
It exists. Yeah.
I'm not going to throw too much shade because I think
I would take that Levi's money.
Featured more in that light,
Yeah, for sure. I would take Levi's money. It's funny. There's another ad. If you're a music nerd, this is hilarious. Sunny Day Real Estate is like known as like this band that never did interviews or anything like that. Yeah. But somehow they ended up doing a JCPenney advertisement with every member of the band wearing JCPenney clothes. And I think they did it as a bit where they had made an agreement saying, yeah, we'll do this, but as like a fake band. So you don't list our actual band. And then they actually did list the actual band. So it's like Jeremy Ennick wearing smooth casuals. And like, that's a pretty funny piece of that, like weird advertising stuff. But yeah, cartoonists in ads, like I think in France, you know, they're like, I don't know, this might be my weird conception, but from what I understand, I think they're actually in like fashion magazines and stuff, like cartoonists, you know? Because I think I saw one of Craig Thompson, like Craig Thompson went to visit, and then they had him in like their version of like Vogue and stuff. It's like, you know, exquisite cartoonist visits in, you know, fashionable clothes, that kind of thing. That was my attempt at a French accent.
It was a noble attempt. It was.
You know what was missing was I needed to do a at the end.
Yeah, that's what would have sold it.
Yeah. I think that was it. Yeah. So that led to the death of the street. That joke. Like,
not at all. Not at all. I'm deciding which things to bag next.
Nice. I'm just working on off-stream stuff, which is kind of fun, but slightly monotonous. You know, all that boring layout business. Frank said, I've watched that ad and I still have my 501 jeans signed by Rob Liefeld. That would be pretty smooth to actually ask him to sign your jeans. I do not. It's funny. I've talked about this a few times, but I am not actually. I used to be very like make fun of Rob Liefeld, kind of join the crowd kind of on that. Mm-hmm. And as I've gotten older, the more I'm like, I will not go as far as some people and say like, oh, he's my hero and I worship him or something. I still don't think he's, you know, the best cartoonist out there. But if I compare where he was at the age he was at when he blew up and where I was at artistically, my judgments have to fly out the window because I could not draw that effectively or that well. And I couldn't start a trend that like every existing artist in the industry is like, we have to mimic this guy. So I got to give him credit where credit's due. Like
I'm similar. Like I've never, like I'm not going to begrudge a guy who hit the lottery and got success. Like that's awesome. That's awesome. I think something I've said before, and I stand by this. I think what's a bummer to me, and I think all creatives sort of understand, we want to believe in the meritocracy. We want to believe that the best people rise to the top, and you know, and that's how it should work. And I feel like there are 100 other comic artists I'd rather talk about. Yeah, you know, just because, like it's like I can have two thoughts simultaneously. Awesome for him that he's a gazillionaire and made Deadpool, and that's great. Like that is the dream. And he's not very good, so I don't want to talk about him. You know, like it's sort of both.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. No, I'm kind of there. And it's like on one hand, I'm stoked that any cartoonist, like that whole image boom, it's kind of cool that any cartoonists were able to make like race car money. You know, like I think McFarlane owned his own hockey team like at one point and had like a supercar that had like the Hellspawn logo on it. I mean, that's kind of cool that at some point, like there were cartoonists that were making that kind of money, and potentially still are. But I'm kind of with you on that. Where I wish that was Daniel Klaus making that money. You know, like if I had my way, like you know, that would be that would be Klaus or you know like Charles Burns or something would be like pulling up in like a supercar. You know, not that they should, but if anyone's driving a supercar, it should be like legends. You know,
right. I had lunch with a couple friends today, fellow comic geeks, and we were just talking about all the things you'd expect, and mostly bitching about Star Wars. But then, like a lot of comic talk, and I'm not going to name the artist. I don't want to embarrass him, but there is an indie creator that I think we all know. We can talk about it off air. Who is, I would speculate, maybe the most successful indie of the three of us. I don't know, like probably most known, like is someone like who's out there. And like, I think he's gotten some traction and I really, really, really do love his work. Really do. And I think he's super talented and I'm delighted to have some of his stuff. he recently posted on social media that he was maybe thinking about doing a GoFundMe to get one of his teeth fixed. And it broke my effing heart that this guy, who I feel like should not be needing to, like, you know, like, I can't pay for dental work, is like having that position. And then, like, for example, you know, Mr. Deadpool is like a million, like, that's the kind of stuff that drives me bananas, you know, where it's like, that just doesn't, that's the meritocracy thing. You know, I'm not going to begrudge anybody for being successful. That's awesome. That's the dream. That's great. I would never say give it all back. Like, that's not the point. The point is, it's a shame when there's people who, like, like you said, like, should be David Klaus, should be, or, you know, like, whatever. Like, you know, it's like that. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Now,
am I seeing multiple Josh Kembles in the chat? What is?
Oh, that's just because I'm streaming to Twitch and to YouTube, and so when I comment in the comments, it sends it to both Twitch and YouTube. So on the YouTube chat, they won't see it too. We just see it on StreamYard.
Got it. I see.
Which, by the way, I have like.
Oh, there could be like a fake and imposter Josh.
That's true. Well, I mean, who says I'm the real Josh? You know, I mean,
that's true.
Really,
who is the imposter?
Yeah.
Who is the real Paul McCartney?
How do we really know our identities anyway? No. So I the one thing that makes me less judgy is, let's say hypothetically I blew up tomorrow and was making tons of money. I could make the argument that there's a billion artists out there that should have that money over me.
Of course.
And so when you start getting into the comparison game, it can be tough. But I kind of agree. I feel like there are some subjective calls one can make when it, like, you kind of know a one-hit wonder when you see it, you know?
Let me pull Frank in here.
Oh, we got Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Frank, let me get rid of the giant logo that is blocking your head, sir. There we go. And let me get the banner up.
Oh.
And then we should be good. How's it going? I like the suspenders, man. That's pretty cool.
I also just noticed
Frank is just so stylish.
I know. He's been like Mr. Fashion.
Mustache, got some new glasses.
Frank is living up to the handsome artist motif.
He's really leaning into it.
Yeah. I feel like you need a side holster though with that outfit. Are we losing Frank?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, I shouldn't have any issues with my internet. We finally switched over to fiber, so
you got what?
Any issues before? Fiber optic internet.
Oh,
yeah, they just installed it in our neighborhood, so
that's kind of cool.
Okay, and I invited Paul, but he said he's driving, and I'm guessing, like, I've done vlogs in my car, but I'd imagine doing a live stream in your car would be a nightmare.
Probably a bad idea.
Potentially get you killed, yeah.
I think that would get you cited here in Arizona.
Yeah?
Well, I don't think you're even supposed to be on the phone, unless it's a hands-free thing.
Yeah. You can definitely do it hands-free, but yeah, it would be hard to... I just would imagine, because live streaming, quite often you want to be paying attention to chats and stuff like that, and that, to me, would be pretty hard to do.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you had a limousine. I saw on, like, a... every once in a while, just for fun, I'll just look at, like, OfferUp or, like, the Facebook Marketplace and just see, you know, if there's like a really dirt cheap car or guitar that would be fun to own.
Yeah.
And this is all hypothetical. Like, it's not stuff I'd actually buy. But what I saw was, I noticed a lot of people sell like limousines with like really low mileage on them. And I was like, do you need like a special license for that? And not only that, wouldn't that be the weirdest day car to own? A limousine? Like, where the hell are you going to park? You know?
Yeah, certainly some weirdo has bought a limousine, though, right? Just as the gag.
You guys, my son is in the room, and so I have to apologize. I used the H word, and we are not supposed to use the H word. He is correct.
The H word? What was the H? I missed. What's the H word?
It was the location of the devil's hide, his where he resides.
The HE double hockey
sticks.
Which again, when Ben gets older, I'll get into the details of why that's not a bad word.
Not
cover up
at
my
this
shirt.
age.
I've got some profanity on my shirt. So
oh, you do?
That up.
Nice. Well, he's not looking, so that's good.
Yeah.
He's not watching the stream.
I'll try and watch my language, and out of respect for Ben. So.
Well, again, he has no audio access, so you guys are good. It's just on my end. Yeah, you guys can. Yeah, you could literally like drop every word in the world, and you'd be good. You know.
So. Awesome.
Because I have this marked as not for kids. So.
I feel freed up.
Yeah, you are free like a bird in the sky. We lost Frank. I have no idea what happened there.
Yeah, well, was he calling in from a plane? Is he flying to his next modeling shoot? That's a good
point. You know what? Maybe Frank bought one of those limousines, but
maybe.
So then I went down this like thought train of like what it's going to look like if I were to get a limousine. And I realized like that would be such a nightmare because every one of Benji's friends would want us to like pick them up from school.
Oh, of course.
You basically turn your life.
You get prom age or something. It's like, we got to take the limo.
And you'd have all these friends who are like, hey, could you like pick us up from the airport? And the next thing you know, you're like a chauffeur without meaning to be, you know?
Yeah, you'd have to buy a hat somewhere, and you'd have to buy driving gloves. I mean, who needs that?
But anyhow, I did have a brief moment of considering getting a limousine. I realized it doesn't have the charm of like, if there was like a used hearse, I'm on it. Like, I will buy a used hearse if it's like super cheap. I would be all about driving that thing around town. But the charm of that goes away.
I've only ever wanted tiny cars that I can park anywhere. Like I love the joy of just a tiny little hatchback or a compact or whatever. But.
That's why I like I have like a Honda HR-V and I adore it because it's just like super spacey on the inside, like lots of space, but it's like really small. It's really safe. And to me, I'm like at that age where like small, safe, compact, easy to park, low
I'm
gas.
not a car guy. I have no interest in spending money on a car. I don't care what it is. Like, and I have a Honda Fit. Yeah. And it's like it's very nerdy, but it's like a Tardis or something where it's giant inside. You can like help move. You could probably throw like a twin bed in there. But then on the outside, it's this itty bitty little like you can park anywhere.
Or twins.
Yeah. It's also like a TARDIS in the sense that you can travel through time in your car.
It is like that. And I did catch Frank's crack, and it's utterly inappropriate. Utterly inappropriate.
Okay.
I didn't catch it.
I was making sure. I didn't think you could hear me. Is something wrong with my
I heard it. And out of decorum, I refuse to acknowledge it except as a reprimand.
I dare say, sir, I have no idea what went down. Maybe not worth repeating.
Astonishing. My word, Pickle Feather.
My word. Oh, I dare say, sir. Do you stand by those offensive words? I challenge thee. We do need to do a live stream at some point. Like, I don't know how we'd all get piss helmets. But I think doing a live, like
I used to have one because my character from my children's show had one. So we had some of those that like characters wore and everything like that. But I think they've all kind of been sat on or destroyed in some fashion or another.
Because I feel like if we did like a strange, like overly colonial, like British folk, like episode, where we just talk like normal, but in like, I dare say, sir, do you hold by what you just stated?
I'll get a
by the
top
Queen,
hat and a
I'd say
monocle.
that's not. Yeah, a monocle would be.
And a big mustache, like a serious mustache.
Yeah,
I gotta regrow my mustache then.
Yeah, sorry, Frank. That's only for people in the Mustache Club, and you are no longer invited. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, you and Scott are out of the Mustache Club.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? We all have a card, and it's like, Frank, you have to return your membership.
Yeah. Canceled.
Yeah. Stash. Stash sold.
Stash.
The stash police. are
There
not
you go.
happy.
There you go.
How's it?
There you go.
There we go. Well, as I was saying, good fellas.
I feel like if you're gonna do that though, you need to have like really thick eyebrows too, so you can.
I can
and a
only do so
cigar.
much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. How much can you really be expected to do, Frank? You got a fake mustache, awesome sunglasses.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you
this-
guys. No. Let's highlight it. So you guys hear some ASMR. Let's all be quiet for a second as we hear the tape.
Are those the old glasses there? What did I
So,
say?
all right, so these are the old lenses, newer frames, but these are the all new glasses with the
Nice.
special lenses.
I just did an eye appointment a week or two ago. I got to go pick up some new lenses.
Are you gonna transition?
No, I probably could. Oh wait, you said transition? No, I'm not. No, those are the ones that go turn the sunglasses outside, right?
Yes, transition.
Jim was
These are the
saying-
ones I got.
Jim was saying, "Do you guys want to ride in my limo to the Mustache Club?"
This sounds like a weird code, like he's trying to pick us up or hit on us or something.
That's
so-
true.
I'm uncomfortable answering it.
Yeah, I don't know,
Is
Jim.
that what he
The
calls
last
it?
time I got in your limo, I didn't even know where I was when I was dropped off, and I
This
couldn't
is-
remember the last 8
You know what the
hours.
kids
so.
are calling it these days?
I had a tattoo property of Jim for some reason. I was like, where does
Yeah,
what
it's just
happened?
yeah. And then Jim was like having this discussion about branding. At first, I thought it was graphic design, and then I realized, wait a minute, no,
Right.
I have
It was
I have
more
an
like,
actual Lujan brand on my
Next
shoulder. Yeah,
It says pleasure beast on my back now for
Yeah.
some reason.
I thought when he started charging money for those like manliness courses online, like I thought he was being like euphemistic when he was talking about like his game with like picking people up in the limo, and
right.
I don't know. Now I'm not so sure about that.
You gotta watch them. You gotta watch
Yeah.
them.
I will say though, like if people are interested in becoming better men, they should look into Jim Lujan's manliness courses.
That's right. I'm signed up for his newsletter once a day. It's like How to Be More Alpha by Jim
Yeah.
Lujan.
Yeah, totally. I love, he did that like basketball game sequence in his latest the Full Fungus, and I love that post the mail that he sent out where he said how to take your game like a basketball game, and score heavy.
Yeah.
And I was
like his course on how to be going from Sigma to Alpha in 12
Yeah.
easy steps.
There you go. Yeah.
that was a good one. The like why alpha beta failed was the beta. That was a great article too. I just thought, because that was a good grocery store chain. Why did it go away? Oh, it was the beta in there. That was
Usually
really
I'm the
helpful.
one watching when you guys all happen to be streaming, and I'm the one getting the strange fabricated stories made about. Like, I'm enjoying this reversal. I'm enjoying. Yeah, Jim.
You're like, how does this feel, sir?
That's right. Yeah.
I dare say, old chap, how does it feel? Yeah, I apologize for being the author of chaos. I don't know what it is that leads to that.
Well, I mean, we need to do Captain Anarchy then, if you're gonna author some chaos.
I did like the you got to admit, Gary, Captain Anarchy is a book by Frank Salazar. Would be a book I would want like 10 copies of.
I mean, yes, but
I'll have
I feel
GPT.
like I knew
write
that guy in
something.
college, and I got my fill. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's gotta like if you're gonna do it, it has to be like a 7th grade version of Anarchy. We can't have like a college level anarchist.
you can't
Like,
have a guy-
I'm
yeah.
over that. Yeah,
It could all be done in line notebook paper.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yes, that would help.
And all the characters need to be similar to things you would like carve into your desk as a like young metalhead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely.
A lot of Slayer references should happen like throughout, just Megadeth and Slayer references. It's possible.
Tagging.
Could
Dungeons and
the
Dragons
emblem
is
on his
Q.
Sorry, what?
rather than Superman, could his chest have the old? You know what I'm? Oh my God, what is this?
Well, that's actually one of the characters.
Oh, the cool S. Yes.
The cool S kid.
I'm on mute so you don't hear a cacophony of dogs
on his chest, like the
That's the coolest kid. That's actually one of the characters.
There we go.
We have at least 2, and I just haven't done anything. I have like the character design. They're just there in my laptop.
Again, I have this on mute because we're getting food delivered and there are dogs. Yeah.
Okay.
But the cool S is part of his origin story.
Yeah.
And what's funny is there's all sorts of internet stuff. I think they're done with their opera. Maybe not.
Spoke too soon. Encore.
We are not done, good sir. Bow wow.
Okay, I have a question for the group. Tell me, am I the old guy, or is this?
Yes.
Well, it could be both, I guess. Am I the old guy, or am I onto something, or both? Encores at live performances. They do the show. Thank you very much. It's been great being in Phoenix. Thank you, Phoenix. They walk off stage.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone sits and cheers for a while. They come
the
back.
The lights kind of dim, but their instruments are all still set up.
Their instruments are still there. It's like, why are we doing this ritual? Like,
one guitar goes off stage.
Do it all and leave. I'm fine. Like, am I crazy? What am I not appreciating the tradition of this? What's going on?
I'm of 2 minds of it. Like, I think as a music attendee, it's kind of annoying. But
yes.
I've also been at shows where you're waiting for an encore and you're kind of anticipating it. And there is kind of an anticipation and payoff if you get a good encore from a band. The double encore can be really cool because you think the encore's over. And then it's
double encore. I don't know if I've had the double encore.
I had that. Like, so one of the funnest encore moments. Oh, sorry, what?
That's with the twins. I haven't had a double encore since I was 17.
That is a fair point. Like, double encore does not sound like the cleanest phrase.
Terrible.
But so there was I saw Silver Sun pickups like before they blew up at like the Silver Lake Lounge, which is like this tiny little venue, and it was packed to the nines or whatever because of the fact that they had like maybe a week prior, so the gig's already been booked. Their single exploded and was like everywhere, and so it was like their first show they'd ever played where it was like beyond selling out and everyone knew their lyrics because they had just broke. So it was like this perfect window. And when they did an encore, they actually at one point were like, I don't think you guys understand. We've never had this kind of reception before, so we're just going to keep playing. Like, you guys will have to leave because we're having too much fun. They're like, this never happened, so you guys will have to leave. And they actually just kept playing until like the city made them stop.
That's pretty cool.
That was a cool show because it's like you could see the tangible kind of joy they were getting from it too. Because it's like they're in a position where it's like they finally were rock stars, and it's like, oh, we get to be rock stars, like for real.
Well,
like
now that I think of it, I remember a really great show. I still have the concert poster. Where is that? Because I pulled it off the wall when I was leaving.
Was that In Sync or 98 Degrees?
It was Birds and Batteries.
Nice.
Tom Smollietti. Birds and Batteries. They were in Flagstaff at the Lounge, which is like this venue in the basement of the Hotel Monte Vista, which is this old haunted, supposedly hotel in downtown Flagstaff. Anyway, I was a fan. Went to this show. It was one of these venues where it's mostly a bar. One end of it has a stage. And they played their set. The crowd was having a great time. You could tell they were having a great time. It was really, really good show. And it was one of those great things where the stage is only like 6 inches or a foot above the floor. So you feel like you're standing in front of it. Like you're right there, like with the band, basically.
Yeah.
They went through their whole set. They were having such a good time. They were like, we're not ready to go yet. We're just going to run all through this again if you guys are okay with that. And the crowd was like, ah, like they went crazy. And they just did their exact same show one more time. Like, and it was so much fun. Like, it was really cool just to have, everyone was having a good time. And it's like, why stop? Like, let's just keep playing.
So I feel like we're getting towards like a truth of it, which is, I think we like the authentic encore.
Yes.
The pre-planned encore feels like you're going through the paces.
Yes.
Like, here's the thing. I wouldn't mind an authentic encore where it's like they've literally unplugged all the instruments. Like, it's over.
If
Game
you were
over.
on your way out
Show's done, and they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
This crowd was awesome. Let's do more.
Let's just do one more.
If they played the hits, all the stuff people expect, if they end with that way you know that it's possible they're over, and they come back and play something that maybe like a B-side that people really dig or something like that.
Or a new
if
thing.
They don't play their big stuff. You know that they're coming back. You know it's so or legitimately, if you guys cheer enough, we might come back.
I'm not a fan. To me, it feels like a weird tradition. Like it's like at a wedding, if they actually say, if anyone these two people should not be joined, let them speak now or forever. It's like, why are we even saying this anymore? This is stupid. Like,
you can have that graduate moment where somebody bangs on the window and they're like, no!
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You would miss out on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I kind of see what you're saying. Like, the tradition's a little boring. It can be fun. Here's the thing that Scott just reminded me of, because I had this experience recently at a show. Do you feel like, I mean, when I was younger, I was like totally cool with bands not hitting all their key songs.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've started to realize, like, if you're known for specific songs, even if you're an indie band and let's say you have like a couple songs that are like your target songs, ignoring those at a show is kind of a dick move. Like, I like getting B-sides and deep cuts and stuff like that, and I used to really enjoy that, where I'd be like, I don't need the hits, just give the deep cuts and the new stuff. But now I'm kind of like, no, give us like some of the hits, like, for sure. Like, don't play a show where you're not like hitting some of those key songs. I don't know if that makes sense. Although I empathize with the band not wanting to. I think
this is
maybe when that's for the encore, we don't want to play this song, but we'll play it to the end. Yeah.
But it's something this colored my thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me was like, David Spade used to have a bit where like he was pretending he was at a concert. It was like, play Freebird already. Like,
exactly.
Play whatever the big, like, we're here to see you do your greatest hits.
And play Freebird is said among musicians as a joke all the time. Because it's like, it is something you will literally hear at gigs.
And as a younger person, I think I was in that camp of like, I want to hear the album. And I want it my favorite songs, and I want you to play it like it sounds on the album. And now I'm fully opposite. And I think, first of all, it's like I think I've learned to enjoy hearing like them do a familiar thing in a different way. Because it's like, well, if I want the album, I can stay at home.
I have nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the other thing I've thought about, and this is comedy, but I think stand-up comedy and live performance is very similar in a lot of ways. Louis C.K. was talking about how he always tries to do, when he does a tour, it's always new material. And his argument is, if people are fans because they've heard you do certain bits, and they buy a ticket and they go to see you, and you do that bit that they want that they want to hear, they'll be satisfied, but they'll never come back.
Yeah.
And like, You know, and I think that was an interesting observation. It's like, because now it's like if I go see Seinfeld, he's going to do something about airplane peanuts or whatever. Like I don't need that, but I now appreciate the artists where if I go to a show, they're playing maybe stuff I don't know or it's brand new or whatever, and it's like I know like I will go and see them again because I know I'll get new stuff.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I just I do think it's a bit different with music than it is with because like music's weird in the sense that comedy when it's performed is supposed to be like performed in a way that's like so smooth it doesn't seem like a pre-thought out bit. Like half the delivery of comedy is for it to seem natural and
like
organic.
You're just talking.
Yeah, you're just talking, and that's like half the art of comedy is like it is really rehearsed, it is really worked out. But how do you deliver it in a way that's like almost feels like this is the first time I've said this, right? Whereas with music, like there is a rehearsal and a perfection to the performance where you are kind of rehearsing something. And it's one of the few forms of art where you're going to see like kind of music played that's already been sculpted. Like it's almost like if we had a comic we already made and then we're just making it live.
Or like if you're going to see Hamlet. If you're going to see Hamlet, like do the line about to be or not to be. Like, you have an expectation.
So it's weird because I'm mixed on it because I feel like you kind of have a duty to the crowd a little bit to play some of the songs. However, at the same time, like, I also love like going to like a Sonic Youth show and they get like 20 minutes of feedback and it's amazing. And it's like improvised, but Sonic Youth will still play like Diamond C at almost any show because that's one of their core songs. They'll play Schizophrenia on most of their tours because like that's one of their core songs. So it's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a mix. I think it's up to the artist, but I guess I feel like it's funny because I've reversed kind of where you are currently, Gary. That's where I used to be, where I'd be like, because I came from a musician standpoint too, where I'm like, dude, they should be able to play whatever the hell they want.
Right.
But now I'm like, I feel like you're gonna get your audience back if you at least give them some food of like the stuff they already like.
Comfort food, like
yeah.
Well, I will say
which is interesting.
The
I'm thinking about it out loud, but go ahead.
Well, if I go to Krispy Kreme, I'm expecting donuts. What's
not like chicken wings.
What's this?
Welcome to Krispy Kreme. Would you like to try our hot wings?
Krispy Kreme, because it's like we're not doing donuts anymore. We moved on. That was last season. We do the one thing I will like, and I'm not unhappy if I go to a show where they play the album, like their greatest hits, and it sounds exactly like the album at home. Like I'm not disappointed necessarily. The one thing that absolutely I will never do again, and there's no way to know until you get there.
Are you a parent? I'm disappointed.
Is I saw Arcade Fire.
Oh, I love Arcade Fire.
10 years ago, maybe.
We have the same Arcade Fire shirt, so I'm guessing we saw the same show because you have that blue one with the art.
Maybe the same tour. Yeah.
So,
I saw them about 10 years ago. Now, maybe I don't know if it's how they are. I don't know if it was that particular show. I don't know what was going on. It was palpable how going through the motions they were. It was palpable how like they really didn't want to be there. And I don't know what the problem was. The stage was awesome. They were like playing motion stuff above. Like they have like, projectors. They're like showing like basically movies, like films that like go with the music. It sounded great, but there was just something where you could tell like between songs when they were talking, you could tell like they don't want to be here. And that was such a bummer. Like that is the opposite of Birds and Batteries. Like, let's just do the whole set again. Like that was whereas like you felt like they were clock watching, like Arcade Fire. And it's like, that was, I think all time, my least favorite live performance. Like
That's interesting because I saw them probably around the same time, and it was like one of the best shows I've seen.
It's probably a bad night.
So you might have just caught a bad night,
Bad night, yeah. Like
I'm a big fan of I love The Cure, and I saw this was this is the problem when you start getting older. It's like it was a Warped tour of some point. I know it was when the Pixies, their first show, reunited, like the full band, and Kim Deal was in it, like for that show, and then quickly quit again. But it was weird because like it was like the Pixies, and the Pixies were like up before Radiohead, and the Cure played that night too, and the Cure was awful. It was like the worst show. It was depressing. It was like watching just like Robert Smith was just kind of like, I don't give a crap about any of these songs. And like they all felt like they were falling asleep on stage, and I was like, this is the Cure? Like, come on. That was a rough one. And yet I've heard that that's a rare thing, like that they usually put on a really good show. So
Arcade Fire might have been a fluke. It might have totally been, it probably was a fluke.
Yeah, because mine was at that Arcade Fire show too, and they were incredible when we saw them. So I think we probably caught a bad night, just like for me with the Cure. I don't think they always play that badly. It was just the one time they play bad.
I get the impression, and I can't put my finger on why, but I get the impression that Phoenix is not a great live music town. And sometimes I suspect bands or singers or whoever, like they're not so super thrilled to be here. You know,
they might have been sweating and like,
it's hot.
No, that's a good point. I mean, if it's an outdoor venue, I could see Arizona being very unpopular.
Well, this was
just like, look, guys, the last time I played there, my amplifier melted. So, you know,
we got
wet t-shirt contests are awesome in Arizona.
Your guitar actually becomes a grill. Yeah. It's like, I don't know why I keep getting grill marks every time I play guitar. Anyhow. Are there outdoor venues in Arizona? I'd imagine most of them would be in. I'd imagine they do mostly indoor.
There are outdoor. Yeah, there are not many, but there are.
Like, are they like kind of usually like seasonal, like the way they do it?
No, they'll do it. Like, there's the I haven't done it since high school, but no, there are people who will show up for these outdoor things. Like I don't know how they do it, but
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, like Warped Tour is usually in like Thousand Oaks or whatever, and it's like freaking boiling, you know. So I don't know, you know what.
But the ones, my favorite ones are. Well, I'm a snob for smaller venues.
Yeah, me too.
And that's usually all indoor. Like, you know, you're not. It's only the giant ones that might be like an open air thing.
Yeah.
But,
which were like pretty, you know, the big shows. Like there was a show put on by Sonic Youth that I think was one of the best like festivals in like Riverside area, and it was called This Ain't No Picnic. It's like a really famous show that they'd organize, and they'd have like all the giant indie bands at the time, you know, and
they had a picnic.
No, but it was a very cool like outdoor venue because it wasn't quite as like trendy as the Warped Tour, so you'd be able to catch these like iconic indie bands, but it was like indie enough to where it wasn't like an undealable crowd. But even that nowadays at my age, I'm like, no, not gonna do that. Like I want to, you know, be able to like sit toward the back, you know. Usually my section is very notable because it's the bald guys that are not like sharps or skinheads. They're just old.
Just old. Yeah.
If you look at that row with the bald guys in the back of the concert, the hardcore show or whatever, we're kind of nodding back and forth, and they know all the lyrics. I'm that guy.
Yes. I'm officially getting to the age where it's not a deal breaker, but when I'm looking at a show or looking at a venue, one of my first questions is, are there seats or am I going to be standing the whole time?
Yep.
That's I'm getting to that point. Now, it's not a deal breaker. Like the last one I went to, I was standing the whole time. But I have to admit, afterward was like, oh, my feet. Like that sucked. You know, I mean,
it's a cost you have to weigh now where you're like, is this worth the pain that will ensue?
It's a calculation. Yeah.
Uh-huh. No, I definitely had that at the Sunny Day Real Estate thing where I went with my friends and we all scoped out an area where we could lean.
Yes.
We're like, oh, that's pretty good because you can kind of get a good visibility, but also I can lean on this rail
I went
here.
to, oh my God, who was it? It was the Railroad Revival Tour It was Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros and some other band I'm blanking on. Right
Thomas the Tank Engine, I think, was the
That was it. Yes.
uh-huh.
And it was good. Edward Sharpe, actually, I had never seen them live before, and like, I think I was going for the other band, which I'm blanking on right now. But then I saw Edward Sharpe, and I was like, these guys are much better. But I loved it. But it was 2 shows back to back, and by the second one, I was like, where is a chain link fence I can lean against? Because like this is like I'm over it. I'm over standing outside.
Yeah.
For 4 hours. Like that's.
It's a really good. Good call. I don't know. Like, Scott, what was the last concert you went to, sir? Good, sir.
I'm trying to think.
Was it Kiss?
Aside from no, I want to say it was we went and saw that yacht rock thing, the Yachtly Crew.
Yachtly Crew sounds amazing. I would be down for that. Like, that sounds hilarious and amazing.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. That might have been the last one. I can't remember. Yeah, it's been a while.
mine was the Wiggles live in concert.
Oh, Jim said I saw Yachtly Crew, so he's been there too.
Oh, yeah.
He also said he's got a question for Mr. Hodges. Is he ever going to meet Mr. Cirkland on the Brightside Studios and get some kind of art event going?
When Mr. Cirkland wants to restart Drinking Draws, I think it's a strong candidate.
Oh yeah. At first, because he had asked that before, and I didn't make the connection, but I remember seeing something on that, probably something that you showed, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. We should do
that." That would be. I think I would strongly suggest checking out that because it's got like an art store within it, and it's got studio space. It's got like coffee and drinks. It's pretty cool.
Got it.
But then also down the street from it is Changing Hands. Which also has it's a bookstore with a bar in it. It's got nice seating. It's very art friendly. They do little I wouldn't say gallery shows, but like local artists can put their stuff on the walls. It's cool.
Do they still have the arcade over there by Changing Hands, or what? I think maybe it wasn't right by Changing Hands. Maybe it was. Never mind.
I don't know.
Is that the one where Scott mugged you when you were a kid, Gary?
No. Scott never has mugged me. You made it very clear if I ever talk about the mugging, it's going to be trouble.
Paul Pate says the sax player in Yachtly Crew is named Paul Pate.
What?
I don't think he's making that up either. I think that's true.
Is he?
Because that's probably one of those Google image search results.
That might be his real name. I don't know. They've all got like funny names. They all work under like aliases. Like I forgot, and they're all kind of have to do with like smooth, either yacht rocky names or whatever. So
nice. I feel like I'd love to be
something nautical.
If I was to ever have like a yacht rock kind of band, I would want to be the bassist or the keyboardist because I feel like if you're in that kind of band, that's where you get the fun. It's kind of like funk too. I feel like if you're going to be in a funk band, you better be a bassist, dude.
Did you just say? Am I? And I'm not. This isn't a joke. This is how I heard it. Did you just say get funked?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking.
Speaking of, let's see here. Oh, okay. You got that question,
Gary.
That's right. Get the funk on out of my face. Get the funk on out of my face. That's an actual song, which is kind of amazing.
Is it? Oh,
yeah. It literally goes, get the funk out of my face. Get the funk on out of my face.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of dig funk sometimes. It can be the kind of funk I can't stand as I've gotten older is like I really can't do Chili Peppers. I can't. I've
never been a fan.
I mean, I can appreciate Flea's bass skills, but that's about it.
In tacos, I like chili peppers. But
that's a good point. Yeah. Although it depends on the chili pepper. Like how are we talking
chili?
Ghost chili pepper? Like
No.
How hardcore do you get with your chili pepper?
I get hardcore, but sometimes just A good old fashioned jalapeno works fine for me. It doesn't have to be anything fancy schmancy. But I like habaneros.
I like habaneros. Yeah,
habaneros are good. They are
because they're a little sweet. They're a little fruity. It's nice. Yeah. The best hot sauce I ever had. It's a place that went out of business, but they had a pineapple habanero sauce. Oh my god! I wanted to buy it like jarred. They would only sell it on their burritos, so I had to just eat whole burritos all the time. But man, it was good.
Can you put it on the side and you just put it in a jar?
Yes. Give me 12 burritos. Hold the burrito.
Put it here.
Yeah.
I love that.
Pour it in my hands. I'll walk out. Run out to the car. That's the pour in the car.
So you guys have been going for about an hour, so I was going to put on a trailer, but would you guys rather just kind of continue the conversation because it does seem to be flowing okay? It's up to you guys.
It's whatever.
I'm good with the conversation. And
when you get cut, I'm going to run and grab another bundle because I'm just bagging my last on my file here. So.
Okay, maybe in that case, maybe we'll do a trailer real quick so everybody can step up and get water or whatever. We'll be right back. Here is the trailer for. I'm going to just play the classic 2 Stories trailer.
Okay.
I do like Frank's.
He looks like one of those inflatable things.
He look like the way. You know what? When we get him back, there will be some inflatable waving dance action. You guys. So if you like those inflatable tubes at car dealerships, stay tuned because it's coming. And by the way, before I go to the break, I noticed there's 6 people watching. Hit the like button. Hit it. I see you. I see you who have not hit it.
I wonder if I hit the like button. Maybe.
What is it? The kids say, smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
How about this? How about because I'm a little older?
And hit that bell for notifications.
Yeah. Don't smash the
Follow
button.
me on Instagram and subscribe to my Patreon. And, sign up for my Substack and just
gently press the like button. How about that instead of smashing it?
Quit your job so you can devote all your social media time to me.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's a good point. Gary does live streams too. So if you're going to quit your job and just give us all your resources, I'd say you should split it between the 4 of us.
Yeah, we'll try and fill all your empty days. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
we'll rotate.
Here. Yeah, we'll rotate. We'll pass it around kind of like the Stanley Cup, like it'll just go from house to house. Yeah. Okay, here's the Jacob's Apartment trailer.
All right.
Clearly it seems that only in dreams can we these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams.
So we're back. 2 questions for Mr. Hodges, although I don't know if you can hear me, if you were doing the... mainly, actually, it's just one question. So I want to do trailer exchange because I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
And I want to play some DVSM stuff because I want to help promote the hell out of your book because it's brilliant. The only question I have is the current trailer using like royalty free music or is it royalty music on it? It's royalty free.
free. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Then I will download that.
The will copyright flag.
Okay.
But it's like I went down that rabbit hole. Like it's fine. It just
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, as long as if it's claimed, but it's like licensed, like
right. No, it's not.
Free,
no, it's free. It's free to use. You can't. I think it's like one of those deals where the short version is you can't make money off it, and you have to give them a credit. So what will happen is if it's like me, you'll play it. It'll do a copyright flag.
Yeah, and then it just adds
the description of who ons the music to your description.
Yeah, that happens with like on my vlog. I use like E's Jammy Jams, which is like old ragtimey music, and like they just add it to the description, and it's good to go. So cool. That's awesome.
I was going to do anyway. In a way, it's nice because I was worried. I was like, well, I'll have to copy and paste in this credit for every time I do the trailer, and like no, it automatically does it. So it's like, oh, great.
I have to admit, it's really convenient, like for sure that it works that way. You know? Yeah. The only thing I'm a little bummed about is like no saboteurs because of the way that we released it. It's like if you use that, like we're just getting money from you, which is kind of a bummer because I wish I could like more pick and choose who's where that plays. But just so you know, if you play no saboteurs on your YouTube, I'm taking your money.
Okay. Well, and yes, I'm glad you want to do trailer exchange. And by the way, that's open to anybody. Oh, actually, I guess we've only talked about it in the chat. For anybody who's watching. Yeah. If you have a trailer for your work,
yes,
or just you talking to the camera, pitching it, or your video from your Kickstarter, or whatever your thing is, please a reasonable length. Like, don't send me some 8-minute thing, but like,
preferably like a minute and a half,
2 minutes tops,
2 hours,
5 hours.
Behind the desk.
Make it really entertaining.
Making
play during my live stream and say nothing.
Just take it over. No, the deal is
basically make us a movie. That's what we're
just a whole. The deal is you send me a video, I will send you my trailer. You play my trailer, I'll play your trailer. Like that's like let's just spread. I'm just thinking like we're all a bunch of indies. Why not just advertise each other?
And you have to wear your fedora and your whip. Since we're all a bunch of indies.
That's true. We are a bunch of indies.
We're all a bunch of indies. You got to wear a fedora and a whip while we're doing it.
Wow.
It's true. And you have to shoot Nazis. Like, that's another.
You do have to shoot.
On screen.
But, so if anybody wants to get in on this, just message me somewhere and just say, like, hey, I have a trailer or whatever.
And like,
there'll be some limited. I am not. Speaking of Nazis, I'm not going to be a Nazi about it. Like, I'm not looking for. But if it's something crazy objectionable, no, I'm not going to run it. But like, I can't imagine that would be anybody who wants to do that with me. So,
so Gary, like
so
my next project,
my OnlyFans.
I was going to say my next project is featuring like a bunch of like animals that have like human faces. It's in like kind of an anime style. And it's I take Patreon requests to draw the animals in kind of nefarious situations. Would my trailer be okay to send?
Here's the rough guidelines. Nothing that's going to get me in trouble with YouTube.
Truth.
Listen, I'm not trying to be a Nazi here, but.
Wow.
That always leads to a productive conversation. Look, not to be racist, but
nothing like on like. Now I'm even regretting saying like I'm just reserving the right. Just because you send me a thing doesn't mean I'm going to play it. So
understood. Understood.
And I think that's actually kind of like part of the. And I will say, like, for any viewers of my thing, I'm kind of into this idea as well. The only catch is like, the best way to guarantee it is do a testimonial about my book because I mean it's my channel. That'd be cool. If not, like, I'm totally down to trailer exchange, especially with people I know or people in our community. But yeah, like I'm gonna be pretty like meticulous. If it's like not something I want to play, don't take it personally. It's just,
which, by the way,
would go all around.
I've been telling you for months. Once I get the comic done, I want to cut a sexy trailer for your books.
Oh, I think that would be hilarious.
Of mine, and
that is the funniest way to promote a book. Honestly,
I finally got an idea. So it's like, what's it going to be? But now that I have time, it's like, what's it going to be? What's it be? And I got an idea. So as soon as I like just make some time to like record it, I will have a ridiculous trailer for your books.
Nice.
I'm very excited.
I am thinking of something for Jacob's apartment.
Nice.
So I got something brewing.
I love it.
That's true too. Like testimonials. Maybe that should be a separate thing. If you record a testimonial of mine, I'll do a testimonial of yours, and we could swap those. But I don't know.
Well, that could be something. Yeah.
I think another thing that's nice about that too is like if you do a testimonial, it's a good way to do cross promotion in it, and like you should mention your own stuff in it as well. So it's like it's a win-win. And I think like getting that reciprocated. But yeah, I do like the idea of the trailer exchange in general, because when we're live streaming, like we all need to take like, I think for health, like I noticed this because when I used to live stream, I would just go straight through without like a break. And that like wears on you, dude. Like you know, if you do like 4 hours streaming or something, like your back's all messed up. And like, like the point is like, you should stand up and get up and like walk around for a second. Well, so put on some trailers. It fills your airtime too, and like kind of does it. Like I've found it valuable to have trailers to play in breaks.
A big part of my motivation was like I want to promote, you know, my friends and work I really like, you know, but I'm not particularly good at it. I'm not confident at it. I forget to do it. Like I hate the thing of like, oh yeah, do you have a link, and like trying to add it somewhere, you know. It's like if I had a trailer I could play, like I would gladly just be like, hey guys, you know,
and it keeps the
YouTube. Here's a trailer for Scott Strickland's new YouTube, you know, or something. I'd be happy to do that. So
no, I do love it, and I think especially for people in our community, I don't think I'd hesitate to, you know, put anyone in the rotation for that. So I think it's a great idea, and it's like also kind of about like building out our network a little bit, and not in like a cold, disgusting networking way, but in like a more organic way where it's like, I mean, like, you know, Gary, your book just came out and I've talked on like 5 different things about it already, just because I'm excited about it. It'd be fun to play a trailer. I want more people to
buy it. I really appreciate. Yeah, by the way. I mean,
although you have gotten a little like on your high horse lately, like that one time where I was like, here's my trailer, Gary, will you play it? And you're like, I'm kind of beyond trailers at this point.
Yeah. I'm a big shot now. I barely have time for my old friends.
It's like that old movie Suburbia. Like, do you guys remember that one? Where like the guy gets signed and comes back to his hometown, and it's like a snotty piece of crap to everybody.
The Corey Kirk story?
Yeah, that's true.
That's Corey Kirk. Yeah. When I think snotty, I think Corey Kirk.
I think Corey.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing humble about that man. He's just all bravado.
And his AI propaganda.
Yeah. Yep. That's the big thing about Corey is he's always pushing like, I don't understand why you guys aren't using AI now.
The first time I met Corey, it was like I was walking, you know, down like Santa Monica Boulevard, and he was just like on the corner, and he's like, hey kid. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you use some AI? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, I'm trying to get away from AI. And he's like, opens his trench coat, and there was just a bunch of code tablets for AI.
Bunch of images of people with weird numbers of fingers.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry, kid. It's actually like real. It's like, but I kind of recognize that face from this other. Don't pay attention to that. You need it. You need the AI, kid. It's going to be interesting to see the legal problems that come out of AI.
It's already a little confusing, I think.
Well, what I'm getting at is like, as the law kind of catches up with it, if it does, like how many people who think they're making this brilliant AI are going to get served like copyright infringement things, you know?
Yeah. Wish I could say I would feel bad. Sorry.
No, I'm kind of with you. Yeah. But it's an interesting conundrum, but I definitely, I feel like it's like, I feel like if somebody is dipping into that, they should realize they're kind of eating a stew that you don't know if the ingredients are going to get you into legal trouble later on.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I guess that's probably to be kind of, you know, maybe a little more kind about it. That's part of the danger of being a pioneer, you know, like, I mean, if you're gonna, like, you don't know how this is all gonna shake out. Like, if you're gonna be an early adopter, like a lot of people bought Betamax, you know, I mean, like, that's a chance you're taking, I guess. But
yeah, and I guess if I think of the best faith argument, you know, it's like you could also use the whole sampling and hip hop kind of argument where it's like, you know, even the early keyboard was sampling. I'm trying to think of a justifying because I'm not a fan. But I could see an argument made that might have some legs where you're saying like, okay, so a synthesizer was kind of sampling noises of instruments that already existed. Like it's not like a live sample. It's more like, you know, okay, we're going to take a flute and like sample every note of that flute and then you can compose something. And I'm sure people initially were pretty thrown off by it. What's your impression?
I am not the person to articulate a defense of using AI imagery.
Well, that's why I thought it was interesting to kind of play with it, because I don't think anybody on here is a huge fan.
Yeah, but I would. It seems like when I do read defenses of it. Now, granted, these are probably not the most articulate or intelligent or thoughtful people, you know, like composing, but it generally seems to be like, to make the case, you have to get so abstract and big picture and broad. You have to be like, all the computer's doing is looking at a bunch of images and coming up with something based on that, which is just what human artists do. You know, like you have to get that.
Yeah, like most human artists are looking at other artists and dissolving their pixels and taking every element that was effective about it and recomposing those pixels.
In case you need to work in broad strokes and abstraction and like really like kind of, I think, disingenuous principles, you know, where it's like we're kind of comparing apples and oranges and ignoring the things that actually are the meaningful differences, in my opinion. So it's like, but again, I don't know. Maybe I've just never heard a very compelling pro AI imagery case. I don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of will say like, okay, so I have a friend who he used to work at Facebook doing like algorithm stuff, like algorithm based marketing and like coding and working with artificial intelligence. And I will say, if you're a coder, that I could understand the argument for AI a lot better, because you're kind of, it's like a science in a weird way. And so like, it's almost like telling a scientist, you can't do science in the most cutthroat, innovative field there is. It's like, you kind of can't stop that. And to an extent, like I could understand if you're a programmer, why there would be a vast interest in AI, because it's kind of it's like the newest landscape there is. I have to say on the art end though, it's like, I can't defend it.
For like, I think for the liberal arts.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Those liberals.
I'm
those liberal artists.
Why are you talking about the libs, Gary? Not my stream.
Right. Yes, the liberal art, not the conservative arts. No, when it comes to, I guess I just don't. And I remember feeling this way right when it was coming up. I just don't even understand the appeal or the application, or it's just not what I want out of art. I want to admire someone's artistic ability. There's nothing to admire in an AI generated image. Like there's no, like I don't, and when I'm also stuck on, sometimes you'll see like AI imagery, it's like, that's pretty cool. And I don't realize that's what it is. I'll look at it, it's like, that's pretty cool. I want to follow that artist. And you realize there isn't an artist to follow.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, well, that's disappointing. And I don't know. I also still go to the analogy of, how is this any different from anybody I've ever worked for who's hired me to do art? Isn't this the same as them taking it from me, going out and saying like, look at my beautiful art? Like, like I don't know. I can't. You commissioned it, but then you didn't even commission it from an artist, and you didn't even pay. The whole premise just confuses me. I don't even see the appeal. I don't know why you'd want to do it. I don't know.
Kind of equivalent to like if you went to the Sistine Chapel and you were like, isn't this a beautiful Medici? And it's like, I mean, I think maybe that's what bugs us about it. So just pulling what you were talking about with like, it is kind of similar to commissioning something.
Yeah.
And how often do we give the commissioner credit for the artist?
Never. So
now we're trying to capital A the guy who's commissioning, and like that's just never been the relationship there.
There was this client I used to have who, this was the routine always. They would ask for something. This was a regular client I had for years. They would ask for something. I would do it for them. Mm-hmm. They would say, looks great, looks great. Oh, looks great. But then always they would say, like, can we do one thing? Can we take this and just move this just like quarter inch to the right? Like they would have some minimal little input and you'd be like, sure, and you'd do it. And then you would overhear them being like, I was instrumental in getting the, like that. It's just,
and what's funny is they'd also very proudly be like, you see that right there? This image was terrible.
That was my
move that to the left.
I did that.
Just like a millimeter. Isn't that genius?
I hear that guy's voice when I see these people coming up with prompts saying like, well, I did all the prompts and I watched it again. I sent it through again. I didn't get exactly what I wanted. And I said this, and it's like, that's every guy I've ever worked for. Like, I don't think of any of them as artists.
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
And I mean, it's interesting. This is one of the reasons I always encourage like artists to dip in a little bit to philosophy. I think anytime somebody's going to dip into philosophy, they should go with a bit of moderation. Like, don't go head first into exploring philosophy, because it can literally lead you to be the guy who's just annoying about everything, where it's like, hey guys, let's eat dinner. And it's like, well, what is dinner really anyway? And it's like, and then you're like, well, let's have dinner at the table. Well, what's the table? I mean, how do we know it's a table just because it's got the name? And like, which is it, the signifier or the signified? And you're like, okay, I just want to eat dinner. This is kind of lame. Yeah. So don't be that guy, but philosophizing a bit and like dipping into philosophy is really important for artists, because it's hard to justify art in general. And I think a lot of people view art as like black and white, even people who are defending AI, as like art is this like very black and white thing. So what's wrong with this? And I think the problem is like art is not really black and white. Like nobody has a clear definition of what art is. And it is one of the few things I've found that like is easier to define by what it isn't. Right.
Yeah.
And because
I will say this, here's my one compliment of AI art, or AI, I hate saying AI art because I don't think it is, AI images, is I think it helped me define, by seeing the negative, it helped me define the positive.
Yes.
By seeing this, it's like, why do I not think this is art? It helped me define art for the first time in my life. It's like, what is the missing thing here? Yeah. And it's like, I think a person making decisions and taking chances and taking risks and being vulnerable. And I'm not seeing that here. Like there's no process.
And for me, it's like, I've always felt like art, I know there's like loopholes where this gets slippery, but I tend to view art, at least the art that I like, tends to have some intentionality to it.
Yes.
And I don't feel like a prompt is intentionality, like, because the execution, I think, needs intentionality.
You are, and I feel like work. Yeah. You know, like, I don't know how you get around that. But also, again, like, you're not, and this is a personal thing. I don't know if I'd work it into a definition of art, but I like to see vulnerability in an artist. I like to see like someone who's like, and I don't mean like they're bearing their souls, they're revealing deep dark secrets necessarily. That's cool too. But I mean, there's something personal there. They're doing their best with their whatever skills they have to express something that's important to them, and they're actually making choices, making decisions, the millions of little decisions that go into making a piece, and to outsource those decisions. It would be bad enough to do it to an actual artist you hired, like, draw this for me so I can call it and say it's mine. But like to an algorithm, Like, there's not what I want from art. And I think that's my simplest personal objection to it. It's like, this isn't what I love art for. Like, to see, like, there's nothing that I love about art is here in an AI generated image. Or an AI image that was monkeyed with, or an AI image I did and then I combined, and like, I don't, you know.
Yeah. It's tough too. And I know, like, I think this conversation is always going to be wrought because, like, it is hard to say why it's problematic and defend it. It's also hard to justify it as art, but it's also hard to, like, prove that it's not art. I think that for me, it feels like. Oh, did we lose someone?
Sorry.
I think we lost Frank.
That's Frank.
We lost Frank.
Okay, we lost Frank. Well, frankly, I think that's a sad thing.
He'll be back.
Yeah, Frank will be back. So what I think about with AI art is, do I want to watch a chess match with two computers?
Right.
Like,
that was a comparison I made in a debate recently. Was like,
yeah,
you know, we can stipulate. Can a chess playing computer play better than any human player in the world? Yes.
100%. Yeah.
But then it begs the question,
probably in the drawer.
Who cares? Like, you know, like, and do we go to tournaments to watch two computers play? No.
And here's
the
thing. If I tell an algorithm to beat somebody at chess, does that mean I've beaten them at chess?
Exactly. And of course not. Right?
I mean, does that make me, like, if I beat the Grandmaster of the world with an algorithm that I told to beat the Grandmaster of the world by name at chess, I'm not called a Grandmaster. Like, and I think that's, like, a really big distinction where it's the human endeavor of it. It's like, do I want to watch, like, a robot, like, race somebody that can move faster? It's like, it's just kind of boring. Like, do I want to see somebody race a car, while they're on foot? It's just like, that's not really a fair fight.
Well, that's another.
Does it impress me that the car can beat a person? I mean, it's kind of an amazing machine, but I wouldn't call that like a running competition, you know?
That's another thing I've been sometimes bringing up when I am unlucky enough to get stuck in an AI art debate.
Yeah, sorry to get you stuck.
No, this isn't, because I feel like we're all just sort of agreeing. But like, an analogy I say is like, look, 100% Boston Dynamics could probably make a robot that could swim faster and better than a human. Yeah. Should it be in the Olympics? Yep. No. Do people want to sit and fill stands to watch the robot swim? No. Like, and I think the reason why, in my opinion, we can argue about why, we can debate how is it different. I think it's different because whether we're consciously aware of it or not, we appreciate that when Phelps, does some amazing swimming feat at the Olympics. That's how tuned in I am to Olympic swimming. Phelps is probably like 10 years ago.
I think he was, I think still to this day, the most successful swimmer that ever lived, though. So I think that's
there's a level of admiration that we know this is a person, and that it's not just about the swim. It's about his probably entire life leading up to this, training, getting better, testing himself, sacrificing, pushing to be able to perform at this level.
Yeah.
And that's part, like the story. This is why we do artist statements at gallery shows. Like, where did this come from? Who are you? What is the story you're trying to tell? Like, what is, and when you're talking about AI art, to me, the simplest thing is like, when we're like, what is art? Well, it comes from an artist.
Yeah.
Point to the artist in this. Like,
so that's a huge part, is the agency.
What's that?
Yeah. The agency is a huge part, because I think art has, an agent.
Because like when you, again, like the whole, like how to define art. My impression, of course you can argue about anything. My impression is art has an artist. A leaf falling on the ground isn't art.
Yeah.
But someone might sit there with a camera and document it in a pretty way, and that person's an artist. Like that. In and of itself, there isn't art happening now where no one can see it. There's craft to art. Again,
I've done the analogy of like the slab of sidewalk that I think all of us have had as artists. Is like when you start learning to see, right? You'll like at least I've had this moment a million times where I'm like walking in a city and there's a piece of pavement that just looks so cool. The texture, everything, that I feel like you could put it in a frame and it's almost art.
Yeah.
But the one differentiating factor is that it's not. And also,
right.
Yeah.
Because I think what makes it, and see, that's the key thing that I think people are missing. Like, what makes it art is the choice.
Yes.
What makes it art is you stopping and saying, there's something beautiful about that, or interesting about that, or ugly about that, or there's something remarkable about that. And I'm going to shoot it. And where am I going to shoot it from? And in what light? And how am I going to do it? Am I going to frame it? Am I going to do a matte? What am I going to do? All those choices. That's where the art is. It's not the sidewalk. It's what you're trying to express with using the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that's absent in a lot of these examples of AI imagery, I think.
And I don't feel like AI. Yeah, and I don't feel like it's subverting, like in a cool way. Like,
right.
I have to admit, like, I'm impressed with some of what it can do, but it's like I hesitate to. And I also will admit, like, with it's a weird conundrum because I don't think the genie's going back in the bottle with that one. Like, innovations tend to not stop. And like you could try to kind of regulate it, but I don't even think that's going to be successful because it's new technology. Go ahead.
I think the best hope is like what's going on with the writers in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
Is like unionizing and saying like, you can't use this. Yeah. I think that, I agree. Genie's out of the bottle. And I agree. Like, look, these tech companies, they're all chasing this. It's going to happen. I think. And the idea, I don't think any artist who's against it is out there very seriously arguing we need to ban it and bury it in the bottom of the ocean. Like that's not going to happen. But what you can do, and I think is very, very feasible, is to say, we're not going to work for you if you use it. We're not going to buy products where this was a part of it. You treat it just like child labor or something. You treat it where it's like, no, we're just not having this. And we're not going to, like, this is part of our union agreement. Like, we don't want to see this anymore. I think that's maybe where you got a shot. But
I think also just like focusing on continuing to make great art and great stories. I think that I always bring up Chris Ware, but like Chris Ware is a really good example of like he's doing like, especially with lettering, ancient, lettering forms, he's using lines that you could draw very quickly in Illustrator and he's doing it traditionally. Yeah. And yet he's one of the more successful indie cartoonists alive doing that. And partially because there was an era where like what he was doing might not have been as impressive because everybody had to do that, So I think there is a part of that too, not saying that we're going to become this niche, but the fact that there's something to be said for just continuing to make hand-drawn work and kind of refusing to buy into the easy. Don't be the graphic. This is my take on it. Don't be the graphic designer that just because you can do a gradient with every color in the rainbow and now gradients are available, does every graphic design using filters and gradients. Because that stuff, like, that'll everywhere. Yeah. And honestly, like those foundations and those cores and that intentionality and ability to do that, at least currently, is pretty good. The other thing is, I think I'd stop being an artist if my job was just to write prompts. Like, I think that would just be a dull. That's not what I got into art to do,
Oh, 100%.
And I'd stop being a writer if it was about Chat GPT writing a book for me and I just say 3 things in it or give it a style. It's just, what's the purpose of writing at that point,
Something you said reminds me of another conversation I had where you were talking about, like, Chris Ware is doing things you could do much easier in Illustrator. It's what's fascinating and admirable and enviable is that he's doing it himself, like, and that's interesting. But I have heard people say like, oh, it's the same. It's just a quantitative, not qualitative difference. Like, this is the same debate we had with digital. People who were freaking about digital and like traditional is better and digital isn't real art. it's like they're doing it with AI and blah blah blah. I think there is a significant difference though, but it gets into this kind of weird area of, and this is the analogy, like if I have a glass of orange juice.
Corey said it. I just got here. If I jumped on right now, the topic would suddenly turn to 80s music trivia. I think we're pretty into this AI thing, so we might keep it. But I don't know. Like so far, we're all pretty against it. I don't know if we want an AI supporter.
Here's my another kind of analogy and against AI imagery. Like let's say I have a glass of orange juice, and I add a tablespoon of water to it.
Yeah,
still a glass of orange juice. Like, right? Like, we all would still agree, like, this is orange juice. That's not... If I do 2 tablespoons of water, yeah, it's still orange juice. At some point, though, it's not orange juice anymore. You know, there's something lost. Now you've kind of... It's mostly water. It's like there's some changes made where I'm not really handing you a glass of orange juice anymore.
Yeah.
Another analogy is, like, let's say I'm inviting you over to dinner. And my pitch is, I'm going to make you a home-cooked meal, guys. It's going to be great. Now, if I come over and I grill burgers and everything and slice tomatoes and have lettuce and everything, you're not going to begrudge me some store-bought buns. Like, you're not going to think, like, well, you said you were going to do a home-cooked meal, and, like, clearly you bought these buns. You bought this ketchup at the store. You didn't make your own ketchup. On the other hand, if I said home-cooked meal, guys, and you show up and, like, Domino's shows up, like, that's not, you know, I've kind of cheated somehow. Like, but if I made a little side salad, but we ordered pizza, you kind of feel like, to me, it's like, oh, well, how is this any different from digital? There's like a quantity difference here. Like you are going so far in the direction of not doing anything that I'm sorry, it's not a glass of orange juice anymore. It's not a home cooked meal. Like you've strayed too far, you know? And I don't know how to, I think it's kind of willful ignorance sometimes when people's like, I don't see the difference. Don't you?
Well, and I
see the difference.
I don't want to make the mistake that, like, you know, people make with like automated jobs all the time, where it's like they're not going to automate our jobs and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, they're going to automate our jobs. If they can automate any job, they're going to do it, and it's gonna and it inevitably is going to happen. Now that doesn't mean you become a defeatist for sure.
No,
but it also doesn't mean you have to like buy into the automation. Like the point being, like, to me, again, like that's not what I got into this to do. Like, I'm not really doing comics for like mass amounts of money anyway.
Right.
So why would I allow that to, you know, just completely destroy what I love? Like, I'm going to stick, you know, and this isn't a stubbornness, you know, it's just a reality. Like, to me, that's just not the same. And prompting, like, the good point about this is, it needs to move somewhere where it is like ordering Domino's pizza. Like, I am not going to say that me ordering the pizza, right, is me making the pizza.
It's the same as making
differentiation. Right. Yeah.
But I picked all the toppings, Josh. Like and then like sometimes there wasn't enough.
Yeah, I went on Domino's site. You know, I even customized it, and I was like, you know what? I feel like a barbecue pizza, and I told them to put barbecue sauce in instead of, you know.
This is mine. I spec out, like, every time I go to Subway, I basically make myself my own sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm telling them what I want. You know?
Yeah, and in what world is Domino's gonna let you say, well, this is my pizza now because I invented it, because I used your website to build it? No, you can't. Right. That's just not the way it works.
Can I order a bunch of Domino's and then put them in, swap them into different boxes and sell them to somebody else? I don't know, but no, it's and
if you do that, does that make you a pizza maker or reseller? You know?
Yeah. What am I? I think Corey has basically expressed sentiments like this. What's amazing to me is these. Oh, people.
Jim brought up a really good question. He said, "Corey is." Who was the drummer for Culture Club? John Moss? I think we should get into that.
Oh, boy. He's really going to get him. Here we go. But to me, it's amazing to see people, like, just normal, everyday, want to be artists, carrying water for these companies that their ambition is to not pay people. Like, it's weird that that's what they're championing. It's like, this is great. Who is this great for? It's great for them, like, to not have to hire an artist. Like, who else is it great for? I it's weird that people are ready to like. I don't know. It's like it's the Star Wars meme about with Amidala and the Senate saying like, "This is how democracy dies," to thunderous applause. There's a little bit of these artists like, "This is great. You got to get on board the AI train." It's like, what are you like? You're the one who's going to get hurt the most.
And again,
this being used. This is going to replace you. Like,
and it's a value question too, because like, are you just in art to make money? Like that's a huge question. And that's why I liked that Dave Hickey conversation that some people misunderstood, but it's like, I like his take on the idea of like people developing, like bodies of work that mean something. And by the way, now I'm hungry looking at Corey's beautiful stream here.
What's he got?
I'm extremely envious of, he's got a giant, I don't know. I'm smelling barbecue now, just in my head.
I have a gas range inside, but I'm cooking this on real fire, just on principle.
Okay, nice. Because I was gonna say, did you say that you made the fire from scratch just by?
Right.
I mean, I did take an axe and cut the kindling myself.
See, I would say that's his fire. I think that's enough.
Tree, but
Yeah. Well, I can definitely say we didn't start the fire. Not to bring it to like 80s. Yeah, I'm not trying to bring it to like a music discussion.
The world was turning.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Scott was saying something.
You're muted.
You got him muted.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just real quick. I was curious. In 1982, Flock of Seagulls had a hit with Iran. Well, what?
Did he leave? Oh no! Oh, that was horrible.
I love it.
We didn't want to lose Corey, but that did look like
he's
a
true
very.
To his convictions. He doesn't.
He heard us talking smack about AI and was like, "I'm out of here. I'm not hanging out with these AI haters." How's it going?
I don't know what happened.
That was great.
Wow! Come on, that was totally on purpose.
That's true.
That was on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was like a dolphin move. It was on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
I think my phone has learned the things that I like, and it just adjusts accordingly.
Yeah. That's the AI on your phone. That's just like, do not like this conversation. Must detach. No,
you sounded like a Gallic. You kind of had to exterminate.
Exterminate. I think that's actually another good point. Is like, okay, so phone operators are largely out of a job, right?
Right.
Because of the automation of phone switchboards, like it's no longer a needed thing. Do you call yourself a switchboard operator when you're using your iPhone? Like, that's just insanity. That's like true. That's the people who are calling themselves artists doing AI.
It's when I'm feeling particularly snarky and nasty about it and not looking to have a good faith conversation, I make a lot of comparisons to Stolen Valor. That a lot of these people calling themselves artists are like security guards pretending to be cops. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's not the same. I don't know what you are, but you're not me. And I can't entertain it. And I'm not saying like don't use it at all under any circumstance. It's bad and you're bad if you do it and all that. Like I'm not a hardliner on that. But I think, I've seen examples of people who are just doing this like whole cloth. Like they're just entering prompts all day and coming up with stuff and saying, look at my latest work. And I'm not impressed or interested in that at all. Like it's
my favorite thing about that is that they are extremely protective of what they consider prompt engineering.
Yeah.
And it
There's
is and the prompt engineering is actively being automated. Like that is the first thing that these automation companies are trying to figure out is how to make it easier. And so they've all figured out, that using these phrases or this type of word in this order will get you a better result. That is definitely going away. And the funniest part about it is they are freaking out about that. As soon as anybody mentions the automation of prompt, because they have developed, this is the irony of the situation, they've developed a specific skill set and now they're being protective of that skill set. Well,
They're like, you can't automate out this automation skill set.
Yeah.
But
This is this job that's been this has been my career for.
Don't make
16
Google
weeks,
search
and now you're
available to everyone. This is my image search.
Right.
But the irony of those people protecting a specific skill set that they've developed while making fun of people that they're actively destroying,
Right.
who are upset about the specific skill set that they've developed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like irony on top of irony.
This is something, and like Corey, we talked about this once. With a lot of these people, when I hear them talking about it, maybe I'm misreading it, but it really, a lot of them give the impression of having a real chip on their shoulder, like the art bullies talked down to me once in high school, and now I'm getting it back. Now I'm showing them. You think you're so talented? Well, now so am I. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
They're like, and it's a weird. I don't know. It's like it's a very straw man-y kind of like. I'm taking one back for the team. Like all these talented people think they're so superior. I've never felt superior to anybody.
It's equivalent
like, what
to.
are you talking about? I don't know.
No, they're calling it the democratization of art, as if art has been,
as if you couldn't do art before.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't, because it was kept from them.
Yes,
because
we didn't allow you.
Willing to work for it.
There's a bouncer at Michael's that stops you. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are they? You want brushes? I don't think so. Like, let me see your portfolio. Like,
because art's always the cool kids. It's not the outcasts.
Yeah. Artists, we all know the real in crowd.
It's always done by the rich upper class. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's definitely like always been executed by the kinds of people who are going to be, coding and on the forefront of AI. Okay, we got Frank back.
Oh, he's back.
Frank's rocking the.
Well, I want to be cool like Corey and show off my biceps, but I can do that.
Yeah. We
were trying to do the
inflatable car lot.
Inflatable car lot.
Let's all do this, and then Jim can insert it in his next animation.
You guys, whoever's watching this, just realize we're inflatable car lotting for you people. If you haven't hit like, what are you doing? I feel like the issue is like, and this is why that Dave Hickey, I know I'm harping on it, but it's like been really impactful to me in the last few days, where the point of the importance of artists trying to build bodies of work and make a great thing rather than just be the thing, the instantaneous hit. It's so important.
Right.
Yes, like Frank, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's so important to like actually have a longevity desire rather than like the quick buck or the quick result, because like that can just be death to an artist, is like just pursuing the quickest result.
Well,
sometimes that's not the best.
No, and AI, it just by definition cannot replace personal work. The problem is if the audience can't appreciate the difference between personal work and just a product, something that's just out there. And I that's why, and I think we had this conversation months ago. I think we probably have to do a better job as artists to evangelize the art process. Like that needs to, like, and what goes into it, and
why of evangelizing.
What?
I found a chick track.
Oh no! Nice. Is that an actual chip? What is that? Is that a chick track, or is it?
Yeah, I found it in a restaurant one day. It was there. I was like, oh, so I just grabbed it.
I want to collect those. I think
they're still out there, huh? Yeah.
I guess.
And there's a part of me that's like, as hateful as those can be, there's still a part of me that's like slightly happy that they're still out there.
Yeah.
Well, there is something.
It's like a Cracker Jack box, It's
like they can be. There is something kind of mesmerizing about them. Like I am disgusted, but I for some reason can't help it. It's like a Jerry Springer episode. I have to read it.
I totally agree, and it's the over the topness too. It's like it's almost like watching a video about the Satanic Panic or something. There's just like this strange, mesmerizing quality to it,
this like terrified view of the world.
Yeah,
like just that's at least what I take from a lot of them is like the fear.
Yeah,
everything is just. bad and scary, and the devil is, like behind
Every
everything.
move you can make could open a portal to hell in that world,
I know. I played a lot of D&D games, and they never got as out of control as the ones I've seen in a Chick Tract. So
yeah, I honestly have to
No
admit
matter how
that.
hard you tried.
Yeah, I was gonna say
tried
when
and
I was a
tried.
kid, I thought that would be the result,
Yeah,
of D&D.
I was kind of
because
bummed
the era
out. I played
yeah.
around with the Ouija board, and nothing happened. I'm sort
You're
of
just like, oh
disappointed.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a part of you that like, even though you don't want it, you do kind of want to see that like evil portal open and like somebody float out and be like, hello, welcome for opening. Thank you for listening to Joshua Kemble's live stream. Now we shall take your souls.
I like the voice. I
I got my D20 here.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You
What is that one,
see,
20?
Frank shall roll the die, and your soul shall be ours.
Now
Oh,
subscribe.
a whole new weird evangelical meaning to the saving throw in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
Like, I mean, look at it writes itself.
I love it. I want to hear Scott's evil demon voice. I know he's got it.
I could top that one, Josh.
He for
That was
sure.
pretty
He for
good.
sure does.
Really?
He's
All
being
right.
modest.
All right, guys. I guess that's the Kremble in me. It's like that is pure Kremble when it comes out. That's where it becomes Kremble business.
That is how I'd imagine a Kremble to sound.
Yeah, that's true. So anytime I put on that voice, just understand, you guys, that's the Kremble for the Kremlin who are watching. Which, whether you like it or not, you saw the D20. You guys have watched this video. At this point, you are all members of the Kremlin. That's just that's how it goes.
I missed.
Once you see the D20, you're in the Kremlin.
Yep.
Is Corey cooking or just have a fire? What is going on there?
Did he start the fire, or did we already discuss this?
The way that he's kind of working that fire, it also, I like to imagine that that's not actually like a little tong thing, but it's one of those little extendy boxing gloves from animations, where it's just like,
yeah,
He's stoking the fire.
Yeah. I think that what he's going to start doing now is like welding a sword. And
are you cooking or just enjoying a fire, Corey?
We had burgers, and now we're going to do s'mores.
Oh,
nice.
Yep.
Okay, question, Corey.
Another good AI art example. You didn't make the graham crackers, you didn't make the marshmallow, you didn't make the chocolate, but you did make a s'more, and I think you can take credit for the s'more. So there's the funny, like there is a tipping point somewhere in there.
I have an important question about s'mores, Corey, and there is a wrong answer. How do you like your marshmallows?
I hate them. I just like building the fire. They're just gross, and they make me sick to my stomach. So that's probably the wrong answer.
Oh, that was the wrong answer entirely. There's usually like two answers, whether you like them kind of soft and toasted or burnt on the end.
I know I'm going to disagree with you guys on that. So,
what is it?
Rozzy, how do you tell
Scott.
everybody?
Golden brown and going.
Tell everybody how you like your marshmallows.
Boom! I'm with you.
Oh,
I
okay.
am with you. That is the right answer.
Likes burnt.
We're getting a vote from. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you having a good time?
Wow.
She's sweeping.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
She's gonna really whack Corey with that broom for sure.
Yeah. You gotta watch her.
I think that really shows a skilled marshmallow toaster who can get it golden everywhere, but not burn. And you can ride the line with it.
I have to admit, if I have to pick between, not toasty. Sorry, what?
Sorry, Josh. Corey wanted me to weigh in, and I was like, Josh is talking. I'm not interrupting.
No, I want to hear.
I just burned mine because I'm not patient.
I can buy that.
I like them a little chewy. I like I love the flavor of carcinogens.
I do too. Honestly, I will say if I have to pick like between one that's barely toasted on the outside and one that's like pretty crispy on the outside that maybe even a little burned, I'll take that. And usually that's where it ends up. But when you can get that perfect golden brown, like Scott's describing, that is the ideal mushroom, or not mushroom,
marshmallow.
Marshmallow. Yeah.
That's
Jim
a different
makes a good
conversation.
observation. He's calling out how Brandy Fungus appeared on the stream.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Oh.
And I said mushroom. You see, it's
Speaking
like
of
there's a subconscious fungus in my head.
Wow.
All right, well, you guys, it is at the 2-hour mark, and I
Wow.
need to eat dinner. So I'm
Yes,
guessing.
I should probably.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping me
Okay.
pass the time bagging comics. I've got a good pile going here. So
I love it. I love it. You need to like keep track of your comics bagged like on like the side of your arm or something as a tattoo. Just be like, that's one. That's two,
little.
that's
I got the little strikes.
Uh,
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to make another trip to the post office tomorrow, which is kind of exciting.
Hell yeah.
So, just a quick pitch. If anybody
wait.
is like thinking about pulling the trigger on D vs. M 1979, you should do it.
Yep.
I've only got I got a small pile, but just a pile left. And once I get close to Phoenix Fan Fusion, I'm going to shut down the store rather than try and like balance inventory between the two places. So,
Hell yes.
if you're thinking about 79, you're interested in 79.
Where can we get it?
Just go ahead and buy it today. If you're not sure yet, check me out on Christopher Runsman's channel on Tuesday or on the Artcasters on Thursday, and maybe I'll be able to convince you.
Hell yeah. And that's on his Etsy store, which is Dinosaurs vs. Marsbots on Etsy, correct?
Yes. If you just search for Etsy EVSM, it'll take you there. So
Yeah, and make sure you don't search for Etsy BDSM because that will take you somewhere
totally
entirely
different
different.
results. Also good stuff, but not this.
That's his OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And in that case, the use of AI is totally acceptable. I'm just saying that's
Whatever.
what Gary said.
Not gonna
In that realm, yeah. Okay, Scott, where can everybody check out your stuff and future YouTube videos and all that stuff?
You can find my future YouTube videos on my YouTube page. Just search Cirque Works on YouTube, and you can find my comic books and all that other stuff at my website at cirqueworks.com.
I love it. And also make sure you check out Scott's Patreon because he's giving a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And it's always worthwhile to become a patron of Scott. I am.
Yes.
And it's a fun thing. You get a little bit of backstage views of things. And there's different tiers and stuff. You can check that out at
All
Scott's.
mine just running down my cheeks, all those tears because Scott left.
And that's right. And you know what? That's also a really good callback to like an Artcasters episode. If you guys dig back through the archives of Artcasters, you can see Scott's tears.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And this
Look
is
at
just
that
cuteness
s'more.
right here.
Look at that.
So while we look at an
look at that
adorable,
Is that a green s'more? They have
oh my
green
gosh.
marshmallows?
Just more?
I thought I saw marshmallow on her cheek.
I
and
thought it was
did.
a sandwich. That's a huge s'more, or she's just really tiny.
That is
I think it's both.
adorable.
Okay.
It's actually got a Chris Farley stature.
Is that Maddox?
Hey, Maddox.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
Look.
They're rocking the s'mores. I love it.
Charlotte likes hers.
Oh.
Hey.
That.
That's the way to do it.
That's a
That
charred
is a
one.
good.
That
Oh,
is
that-
charred. Yeah,
I thought that was a charcoal.
Nice.
Hey, Maddox, what's my website?
Yep. Let us know Corey's website.
Rozzy, can you say CoreyKerr.com?
she's
I heard it. I think there was chocolate in there, but she was like, "Corey.com."
Maddox, say go to CoreyKerr.com.
Yes.
Woo.
Well done. I love it. That was amazing.
Hey, like, go to CoreyKerr.com or whatever.
Oh, wow. That was
there we
amazing.
go.
I
There
love
we
it.
A softer
That was
cell,
amazing.
more cool.
I love that. That was so fun. Like that, I'm telling you, you guys are giving me real easy content because like that's super awesome to watch. It's just a bunch of adorable people having
Yes.
having
You can
s'mores.
clip that, and that's an ad. That's a trailer. Go to CoreyKerr.com.
There we go.
That's right. And speaking of CoreyKerr.com, after they've gone to CoreyKerr.com, Frank, how are people supposed to check this out? How do they check you out? How do they get your comics and all of
Well,
that?
they just look at me. Oh, you can go to Southside Art Nation. That's my YouTube channel. But you can also, I have a link tree that goes to my Truckle comics. I have an Etsy store right now. I don't have any comics on there. I'm all sold out, but I have some sketch cards. If you want to get the digital, go to my Gumroad store. You actually get a pretty good deal. You get the digital PDF, and you also get a behind-the-scenes digital sketchbook of that for the same price. You buy one thing, you get them both. So check that out.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys to everybody who tuned in. I just want to zoom in on this again one more time because, oh my gosh, that's so adorable. All right, guys. Well, if you haven't yet, and this didn't make you click like on the video, I don't know what can.
Right.
So anyhow, I know. I'm like, it just doesn't get better than that. So awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thanks to everybody in the chats, except for Jim Lujan, not him, because none of us like him. I'm kidding. But no, thank you to everybody, including Mr. Lujan. Thank you for everybody who hopped in. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out every single person in the chats, as well as everybody who's been on stream today's stuff. And if you haven't yet, make sure you've hit subscribe and that bell so you get notifications, because after dinner, I will probably be back on around 9 because I got comics to work on. And if any of you guys want to join around that time, feel free. Corey, enjoy your s'mores and your time outdoors like a lunatic who's not an artist. What are you doing, man? We're all indoors, not seeing sunlight, and here you are having s'mores, enjoying your family.
Having a luxurious...
I'm only 5 feet from the indoors, so
I love it though. But that looks awesome, and thank you for sharing that with us. And also, if you're working in AI and you want to defend it, cool. Just don't ever come on my stream to defend it.
Wow!
I know. I'm not a fan. I like the more I've thought about it, the more I feel like it's like supporting the creation.
You know what though? I'm glad conversation about it seems to be sort of dying down, or it's either that or I'm hiding all the people who are constantly talking about it, I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't know, but I'm kind of relieved to be like, do we still have to talk about this?
Yeah, for sure. I was kidding a little bit, but really I'm not a fan of that stuff, but I do appreciate everybody who watches these streams and has subscribed and all that fun stuff. And we will see you guys on the next one. And make sure you check out all those other streams that Corey was mentioning and Gary was mentioning, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.